So breaking news coming out of WWE right now that they have gone ahead and released Bray Wyatt. We're giving you the full news rundown of all of this going on right now. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Assemble. I'm Matt. Good to see you and good to have you here on the show. But unfortunately, we don't really have any good news. We have breaking news, and it's unfortunate news that WWE has actually released Bray Wyatt, the Fiend Bray Wyatt, from his contract with World Wrestling Entertainment. The only thing posted from WWE.com themselves is, quote, WWE has come to terms on the release of Bray Wyatt. We wish him the best in all his future endeavors. Bray Wyatt hasn't been seen on WWE TV since WrestleMania 37, where he was in the Fiend match against Randy Orton, and we haven't seen anything from him even up until now. And currently, as we're doing this episode, there are no other releases that have come down the pipe right now from WWE. It's only that of Bray Wyatt. Fightful Select has a huge breakdown on all of the news and happenings around this release, so go subscribe to Fightful Select over on Patreon because they do a fantastic job. Sean Ross Sapp does amazing work actually covering all the latest news. He popped up immediately on my Twitter when this news was breaking, so good on Sean for always covering the latest. Now, looking at from Wrestle Talk and Fightful Select themselves, they wrote, quote, that John Laurinaitis was the one to make the call to Bray and sent out a notification to the locker room about the news. Fightful confirmed the report from Dave Meltzer that he was told budget cuts were the reason, which came as a surprise to those within the company, as Bray Wyatt was noted as a moneymaker during his active stints on the WWE roster. In the hours since the release, Fightful were told that Wyatt's name had been brought up during another recent round of WWE releases, but he was ultimately kept on board. And Fightful were also told that the creative team were told that Bray was getting protective over his character after what was seen as poor creative decisions and ideas thrown his way, although many never confirmed this with Wyatt himself. So again, citing the article coming out of Wrestle Talk from that of Fightful Select, and Fightful Select would have more coverage on this and more in-depth news, so make sure you're following Sean Ross Sapp over on Twitter and hang out with your boy Matt here on Assemble for all the latest news as well. So Bray Wyatt is no more. The Fiend is no more with WWE. And as I titled this episode as well of Bray Wyatt being released, WWE 2K22 is gotta release and remove the Fiend from the game. Yikes. That's another giant star that we have to remove from the game. Now, the question would be that if we look at the video game side of this, is it too late to actually remove Bray Wyatt from the game itself? And honestly, I know the video game is completely secondary. Number one and most important thing is that Bray is happy, will be happier, find work or be able to get creative and have a creative outlet elsewhere, and that whatever he does next is something that he's passionate about, that he finds value in and really, really enjoys. And whether it is in wrestling and it is another endeavor, if it's maybe New Japan, AEW, the speculation, the rumors will start up right away, along with understanding maybe what his no-compete clause would be. That would be very interesting as well. But if Bray is looking to do more work within wrestling, I hope that he finds something that he can really, really explode creatively, because the man is a genius when it comes to his creativity and his ability as a wrestler and a storyteller. Now, looking at the video game side of things, because we do a ton of coverage for WWE 2K22 over here, and you guys are amazing for hanging out with us, I'm very curious on that front specifically, what this will mean for the star. Do you think, let me know in the comments, do you think that Bray Wyatt would still be left in the game, as maybe it's too late in development to start pulling him out, and they've already committed to all of that? Or do you think that he would end up getting removed from the game? I think it's too hard to tell. I think that there is still time, that if we are looking at maybe a October, November release for the game, we're getting all of the reveals and the updates and speculation coming out that SummerSlam, we're going to get a big push for this thing as it's being sponsored. It'd be interesting to see if that they have to redo any trailer, gameplay reveals, anything where they have to remove the Fiend, remove Bray Wyatt out of the game. I wonder how much of an impact that actually does have, because I wonder if there's anything within a potential showcase mode or anything they're showing off that involves storylines or any likeness of Bray Wyatt. Now, typically, if we do have stars that are removed from a game or not in the game, typically you can go into the creation suite and you can find their entire entrance and it's labeled something else. You could 2K could just label it the monster entrance or something, and it would be Bray Wyatt's entire entrance, right? So they could end up just having all of the likeness, everything that is in the game, but they actually just remove him unless it's too late in the development cycle to get rid of Bray out of the game itself. This is also interesting too, because Vince McMahon did the quarterly earnings call, the financial call, just the other day, and what was coming out online was Vince's comments on the call when it comes to AEW, and I'm paraphrasing, but Vince's comments on the call when asked about AEW talent and seeing them as competition, Vince quietly, grumbly, gravelly spoke about how, they don't really see as competition, but that almost in a joking way, like maybe we could give them more to work with, give them more talent was kind of the implication, that WWE Vince could offer them more talent. And this is just the other day. So if Bray Wyatt has just been released, I wonder how much more talent are actually getting released by WWE in the coming weeks. Bray Wyatt is a massive talent. He did so much within WWE since his debut with the Wyatt family, bringing something fresh and unique and a different character and an actual character, an interesting character, but never being able to break through that glass ceiling. He did for so many of the fans out there like myself that he achieved great heights, but never I felt like getting to that actual mega stardom that he had the potential for. Whereas I remember initially seeing Bray Wyatt, the promos and the way he was being presented, I almost felt like this was like another new age version of an Undertaker that was so ingrained in character that the sky's the limit on what he could do. And what I really loved about his character work was that how he adapted, how it molded, how we got all the way to most recently with the iterations of The Fiend. And while nothing is perfect from a creative standpoint, but Firefly Funhouse, the Fiend character themselves, the matchups that he had, the promos, backstage stuff, like the pre-filmed segments, the pre-filmed match with Cena, like that was incredible work just artistically and creatively. That thing was incredible to watch, whether you're a wrestling fan or just somebody who happens to know about wrestling. It was hilarious and intriguing and fun and callbacks and Easter eggs, and it just spoke to how creative he was and how integral he was for storytelling and helping the product. So releasing a massive talent like this, it's really wild that WWE is doing this. And we may sit here and speculate that is Triple H going to turn around in a week and scoop him back up like he did with Samoa Joe? I don't know about that, and I don't know where Bray could go from here. I think a lot of our gut reaction would be that if he stays in wrestling, that, he should totally get scooped up by AEW and go over there. And maybe he will, but maybe he'll do something completely different. We don't know. Selfishly, if he was staying in wrestling, I would personally love to see him in AEW and just absolutely fly with whatever form of character he wants to bring to the table, because Tony Khan and the team over there really seem to value people that want to come in and be creative and bring fresh new ideas to the table. And I think whether it's in a wrestling capacity, on air capacity, or backstage producing, or on a creative team, I think that you need Bray Wyatt in your arsenal from a creative standpoint, because his brain and what he can bring to the table and how he could help others develop would be a huge asset for any company if it is within the world of wrestling. But just fun tangent for a second. Could you imagine though, guys, if you had Bryan Danielson, CM Punk, and then you got Bray Wyatt all showing up in like the next year for AEW on top of the existing roster? You got Aleister Black over there, Malachi Black. Like, you've got so much talent over in AEW. It'd be absolutely silly if you just kind of top the cherries on top with Bryan, and you got Punk, and then you got Bray Wyatt. That would be absolutely insane. But we'll have to wait and see. More and more news is coming up on the WWE 2K side of things. Like I said, I'll be interested to see once we probably get to the release to know what the final roster is going to look like. But it doesn't seem like WWE is still stopping when it comes to releases, nor does it seem to matter what kind of level of talent that they are looking at. When we saw the likes of Braun Strowman getting released, who was a huge talent for WWE, that was champion, recent champion, all of that, and Bray Wyatt having massive matches and huge spotlight anytime he was on WWE TV, but we haven't seen him, like I said, since WrestleMania, and nothing has been even whispered about it. So huge support to Bray Wyatt, his family, his friends, colleagues in WWE. Hopefully he is going to find something that is incredible for himself that will allow him to be even more creative. Let me know in the comments below, what do you all think of this news of Bray Wyatt being released? Do you think he heads over to an AEW in the future? Do you think he's in or out of the video game itself? And it's just kind of a bummer though, because for us that enjoyed his work, it's just a bummer to see that he is not going to be there and not on the big stage on our TV screens, but hopefully there's more to come that's going to be even better than what he was doing before. Thanks so much for watching, everybody, and as always, thank you all for assembling with us. See ya!